this microphone with that
Here we go. Yeah, name's Dennis Menesini. Ran the Cannonball in 1979 in a crew cab, Chevrolet, 1-ton. Was the only truck in the race. We were the third vehicle in at the end. Everybody kind of laughed at us at the start because I had this truck. But we ended up fifth, I think, 34 hours, 52 minutes. And got a few trophies for it, but mainly the time it was a ball. I had a lot of fun.
Where did the Cannonball Run start, and where did it end?
Started at Darien, Connecticut, at the Lock, Stock, and Barrel restaurant, and it ended at the Portofino Inn in Long Beach, right? Or I guess it would be Long Beach, right real close, but Portofino Inn. And, it's clear across the country. No rules, whatever. You run what you brung, and it was an all-outlaw party. I mean, a good one.
And how many people were in the Cannonball Run? How
think,
many people finished?
I don't really know. I know there was around 42 people. I got the book over there that Brock wrote, who put the Cannonball on. Yeah, Brock Yates. I think finish-wise, I'm not sure, but most of them. But we were the third vehicle in to the finish line.
What were the top 5 cars that finished?
No, geez, you're asking me questions of stats and go back way too far. Okay, a Jag won it. Trans Am, Mercedes was second, 6.9. And a Trans Am, I think, was third or fourth. I could look at the book and give you all these stats, but right now, we got to remember, we were in the party mode when we got to the other end, so there was about a week there that got pretty well closed up.
Okay, so how did you get started? Like when you were a kid or a teenager, like when did you learn about racing? When did the
I've always wanted to race, period.
Since as far as back as you can remember?
I raced my red wagon, okay? All right, and then I built this kind of soapbox derby car and decided we were going to go down this hill that was close to town then, right? So we went down there in the middle of the day and blocked traffic and decided to go down the hill against traffic. At the same time I'm going down the hill, I see my mother in the 57 Pontiac honking the horn going about 70 miles an hour. Boy, did I get my ass beat for that. But yeah, I always wanted to race.
What was your very first real race?
I raced drag race probably, because I did that early on. And I got out of that. I just hated being in line and it just wasn't me. So then I went to off-road racing and ran the first Mint 400. Crewed a car at the Stardust. I crewed a car at the first Mint 400. I ran the next race, which was the Stardust 711, in the car that I crewed. I ended up buying it from the guy, and it was a Corvair-powered car that we built. And I built most of it at that time, It was pretty crude, but raced that for a few years. Then I got a Funco chassis and ran off-road, I don't know, 5 years maybe, but I broke the car too much. I never finished, DNF'd. And then not only breaking the car, then you got to walk out of the desert. It got to be a real drag. And my last crash was racing Parnelli in the Mint 400 because we drew our numbers together with both of us started. And I lasted about 16, 17 miles. I crashed right at the finish line because the starting was just like 17 miles from the finish. And, he had a helicopter following him, telling him which way to go. I didn't have that. But we had already had enough confrontation at the start because the lane that was my number, odd and even numbers, he was 109, I was 110. Well, I had the fastest lane, so they put him over there. Well, I wouldn't get out. The the steward told me, he said, you move to the other lane or you're going to be starting dead last, but the clock will go on now. So that set the precedence of me being pissed. And, basically, I broke the car in 17 miles and myself, tore my sternum open when I crashed. Yeah, it was,
What was your worst wreck?
That was the worst off-road wreck I had at the time. Had some pretty good ones. Testing a car once at Bakersfield on the half mile in the super modified, the one that's hanging up on the wall. And then I made it to Madera General a couple times in crashes at Madera. None of them were good, I mean, when you take a bad one, that's when I had hair. The next day, your hair would hurt. When you try to brush your hair, it even hurt. Every part of your body hurts. People that watch racing on TV and they see these crashes and the guys get up and walk away, you need to see those guys the next day. I mean, they're altogether different, It rattles you pretty good.
Did you have any rivals in your career?
No. Basically my racing career was never funded well. It was always, I was always underfunded. So I didn't get to race as much as I wanted to. It was always a struggle and a fight. And I had a wife and a little girl. And, and then I started a business. I built wheels. Had a wheel shop, M&H Custom Fabrication. And so it's like I never really had the funding to do it like I wanted to. So it was always hit and miss, and when I'd crash, it always took a lot of time to get the car back together. Just typical underfunded racer.
So you didn't have a crew, or you didn't have a crew that helped you out, or just people that worked with you?
Oh, yeah, just like now. I mean, I had friends that let's put it this way, a lot of people helped me. My old probation officer used to take my car to all the races for 4 years. We became best of friends after my juvenile probation officer. And what it was is there was a cop that lived right up the street from my folks, right? And he had this beautiful daughter. And she was a little younger than me. And I'd already been in a lot of trouble, right? And I had this 37 Chevy panel truck with split manifold headers coming out the side. And I worked at this Time Oil gas station, and we'd get off at 1 o'clock in the morning when I was going to school. And what I did is I'd shut the key off. I'd run the thing up, shut the key off, and load up the thing with raw gas, and right at his house, I'd turn it on, and these cutouts I had on this thing were out each side. It'd blow fire out and explode, and I'd laugh and coast into my folks' house, right? Well, I think like the third day I did that, I'm laughing, right? Because I know it woke him up. It was like, thinking, I'm never going to get caught, He never figured this out. I pull into the driveway because I could idle the next block and a half and be in good shape. You're going to get hair all over you. That one shed. But anyway, I pull into the driveway and stop, and there's, I'm trying to think of his name. Goddamn, I'm getting old. There he was in a bathroom and a shotgun and a ticket book. And he gave me a ticket, for excessive thing. Anyway, that's the first time I met my probation officer. And my mom wanted him to pull my license for 6 months or a year. And he made me write 500 times in a book, I will not terrorize the neighbor no more, right? And we kind of became friends. And he was with me, for the 5 years off-road racing until he moved out of town. And Jay Carter was his name. But
where's he at now?
He died, and he's not around anymore. Nice guy, big. They called him Boots Carter in college. He was a big, tough guy. you know.
Now, I noticed when I walked in the door it says Mad Dog. Is that your nickname? And how did you get it?
I got that in the Cannonball. The Mad Dog stuck ever since. What it did is the article in the LA Times came out, and they go, the real Mad Dog entrance was me. So from that day forward, everybody called me Mad Dog. And then I got my fabrication business. I'm doing all this high-end work at these really expensive houses, and I thought, well, I better name this business and get a website and all that. And I had a friend, I didn't think of Mad Dog Metals, right? But I had a friend that was did the website for me because I had already made a bunch of cool stuff. That's what I do, as I fabricate. See, you got to go. So he did this website, and it came back as Mad Dog Metals. He said, "That's who you are. That's the name of your business." And I had a guy was working for me then. He goes, "These wealthy people aren't going to want no Mad Dog on their property and everything." And it was the opposite. And once they found out about the Cannonball, they all wanted to know about it. And then when they started reading stories about some of the stuff we did, it was even better.